WTIF, this is Kirsten.
Hey, this is Hunter.
Hey, Hunter, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, sorry, I'm running a little bit late. I got caught on a meeting, one of those conference calls that lasts forever. You know how it goes.
That's okay. Perfectly fine.
You know when like I'm like sitting there thinking I have nothing to contribute. I am of no use to anybody right now. You know, but it's all good. Good to be talking to you.
Yes, thank you so much. Now we're located in Tifton, Georgia. Have you been through Tifton? Probably.
You know what? I haven't actually.
You haven't? You might probably going through 75. 75 runs right through us. So.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Okay. You know what? I have actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just mentioned that. Thank you. Thank you for thinking about me. Thanks for having me. Yeah,
yes.
Great.
I have to tell you now, you are the most requested artist during my show. So many people call in and want to hear Wanted and Storm Warning.
Are you serious? That's awesome.
I'm serious. Definitely serious.
Love that.
So you're
Love
from,
that.
tell me if I say it right, Brobridge, Louisiana? Is that right?
Brobridge. You nailed it. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud. Yeah, no, I'm from a little town called Brobridge, Louisiana, near Lafayette, Louisiana. It's sort of it's interesting because we've kind of got like a sort of music mecca of sorts there too, which is obviously where I started kind of getting into music, and I grew up in Brobridge actually. We had a local restaurant called Mulots. It's now changed names, but it's still a killer place, still exactly the same place. But there's live music every night, and my parents are big Cajun music fans, and so we go, every Friday night or so, and we just go eat dinner and hang out and listen to the band and hang out and just. I guess, just join up with family every now and then, on Sundays or Saturdays or weeknights or whatever. And I really started getting into this Cajun music. I would start walking around the house apparently with my babysitter. I don't remember this. I'm just told all this. Apparently I started walking around the house and making like fake instruments out of like plates and I don't know, silverware and stuff like that, and it was obvious that I started singing along to songs and stuff. I think my parents kind of picked up, hey, so he's into music, which I imagine was strange because they're not musical at all.
Really?
And, my grandmother actually decided to give me a toy accordion for my second birthday.
Wow.
And that's
so
kind of
your parents aren't musical at all?
Not remotely, and they'll admit it to you. I'm not telling you anything, they won't tell you. But no, they're not musical at all. My mom was an athlete rather, and is a teacher now, and she's like in the USSSA Hall of Fame, like pitched a no-hitter game, like a big deal, played on the United States softball team, and here I am. I'm not athletic. I couldn't be athletic to save my life. My dad's sort of a mechanic mastermind of engineering type stuff, and I think I got a little bit of that from him. I'm definitely into like sort of like gear, like music gear and stuff like that. But yeah, no, they're not musical at all.
So you told me about the toy accordion. You got that at 2 years old. At 4 years old, I know I watched some of the stuff that you did on the Maury show, all that stuff. You were a little showman back then.
I just loved playing. I still do too. It's kind of funny because it's just like it hasn't changed a bit. Anytime I can have a musical instrument in my hand, I can start playing music in front of people. Like that's when all those things come together. It's like that's my dream. That's where I'm right at home. I think I'm most myself on stage playing an instrument.
And the same thing, too, the songs that you sang, like the one you sang with Hank Jr. when you were, 6 years old, 8 years old, you wrote those songs, right?
Well, the one I said, actually, when I got to play with Hank, I ended up just doing one of his. We talked about doing one of his. I think we did at one of his shows. And then at another, the one that you see on YouTube, the show at Country Fest, we actually played Jambalaya, which obviously is one of his father's songs. Right. And so, I started kind of writing music when I was 6 years old, and it kind of snowballed from there. It was more or less just like I was tired of playing other people's music, and I was just like jamming in my little home studio, which was like my bedroom, and I was just jamming, making music, and I started making up my own stuff, and then I realized, hey, so that's cool. You can actually make your own music. You can write your own music. And I think I just started exploring that world even more, which all the same while I was getting into different instruments, and then it was going from there to into, just into the recording world, finding sort of the record-making process and finding it fascinating enough to sort of be obsessed with it. And now, all those worlds have collided and become one process. I get to write the song and I get to kind of make my own demos, which is how I'm comfortable, because I'm a part of it the whole way, It's now kind of an obsession.
Yeah, and you talk about that, learning how to start music like you were a teenager, but you were only 6 years old back then when you first started writing, and that is just crazy.
Yeah, well, my first song, very creatively, I might add, and the sarcasm is just overflowing in this statement, but I called it, so my first song, wrote it when I was 6 years old, right? I called it 6 years old.
I remember seeing that. I watched that on the Maury show. And I was like, wow. Yeah. But it was pretty good, though, to be 6 years old.
Yeah, well, thank you. I
have to ask you, too. You said one thing on the Maury show, and it was really funny. It stuck with me. He asked you about how many girlfriends you had. And,
oh, gosh.
And he,
oh, gosh.
You said you had to whip them off with a fly swatter. I bet you really have to do that now, don't you?
Oh, my past is not who I am. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how to respond to that.
Okay. Moved to Nashville back in 2008 for songwriting, right?
Yeah, well, that was kind of my way in. I knew I had this instinct feeling, this gut feeling, which I'm normally not very comfortable with, but I knew my gut said, you're gonna want to go to Nashville. This is where you want to be. It's the mecca of what you want to do. I think my quickest road into it was I got to talking to a lot of people at the same time. I started talking to Warner Brothers, a couple of people at Warner Brothers, and I also started talking to Universal Music Group Publishing, actually, which was a songwriting a place for songwriting, and it was specifically for that. And we started talking about a songwriting deal, and that was kind of my way into my career, and I realized that was going to be an integral part of what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to write my own music, and I knew that was part of it, and so that was kind of the first step to making what I thought would be my first record. I knew that if I could get a publishing deal, I could start writing with some serious writers, and that's exactly what I did. I was offered the deal, so I moved to town. I accelerated my schooling. I took a sort of a summer course to finish my senior year, went straight into writing like 4 to 5 days a week and demoing whatever was left in the week. And I just went straight into songwriting, just whatever came to mind, whatever I felt like, got to songwrite with a lot of people that I look up to now, people that I ended up writing with for this record and songs I ended up writing for this record. And it just became it became kind of the first step to the process of becoming sort of, I guess, an artist, if you can call it that. And then it was signing the record deal. Then it was talking about what songs to make the record, would make the record. And then it was, well, who are we going to get to co-produce it? And oh, by the way, yeah, there's this process that's a really weird process that apparently nobody really, seems to pay a whole lot of attention to, this home studio, I've made all my demos by myself because I had no money to hire musicians, or, much less was anybody interested in working on, my original songs. And so, do we want to do the record like that? And we decided, yeah, let's try it. Let's go for it. And that's kind of, it was a crazy process. It was all a big blur. The 4 or 5 years I've lived in Nashville have just been a complete, just like blur. It's just, they've flown by.
I can't imagine. And do you mind if I ask you, I do a weekly artist spotlight every week where I let local artists and unsigned artists come in and let them play their original music and let them talk. And I feel like you could be such an inspiration to them. I know they'll be listening to this interview. What is your process when you sit down to write a song? Do you mind answering that?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, my process is, it changes. It especially now that we're on the road so much, there's the process of, like, when I'm in Nashville, I go in and I write with my, my buddies now who I've been writing, because I've been writing with them for so long. I feel like they're part of the family, but we schedule a day, we schedule a time. I've got a little studio I like to write in. It's just kind of a room with a bunch of furniture and a bunch of, music gear, and I come in with a title or a musical thing, and we start throwing ideas back and forth, and before you know it, we're writing a song about it, and sometimes it's a matter of, like, when I'm on the road, I've got buddies that come out on the road and write with us, and we'll do we'll ride on the road and just kind of like after sound check we'll get in the back lounge of the bus, go over some ideas, and we'll just start circulating ideas and getting stuff together. And that's the biggest thing for me is that my process is never the same twice, and I think that's the way it has to be. Because the one thing I've learned from songwriting, from making the record, from putting together my live show, I posted this picture online actually on my Twitter that says believe in yourself, and the letters that are highlighted out of that are be you, and I feel like that's the best way to be when you're writing a song, when you're making the record, all this good stuff, and therefore, everything's going to change every time you sit down to write. And so my process, I wish I could tell you I had like a really structured thing. Sometimes I do, Sometimes I walk in with an idea. I'm like, this is what I want my title to be. This is what I want the first verse to kind of feel like and sound like. Sometimes it's like, dude, I got this really lame title, but tell me if it makes sense to you. And it's like, oh yeah, totally, that makes sense. Okay, well, how would you say it? And then they say it, and we kind of go back and forth on perspectives for a while. We start talking about what we would say if we could say what we wanted to say about it, and then you end up with a song like "Wanted," which was the title I brought in, and I was like, dude, this sounds so cheesy, but I'm trying to tell this girl this, and we ended up with "Wanted," and it turns out, that honesty is the best policy. You got to be you.
So is that where you get your ideas from? Is from, what you're going through in your life and what you see?
Totally. Totally, yeah. I mean, I've sat down in writing rooms, like I've told you about, with titles and ideas about songs that weren't really me, weren't really where I was. I just came up with this really cool title that I liked, and it sounded cool, it sounded clever, and I thought I could make a really cool twist out of it, and I was like, man, I have no relation to this song whatsoever. And therefore, we stopped writing it, like after an hour of chasing ideas, we stopped writing and we started writing something else that I thought was lame, but turns out it was real, And yeah, I have to get all my inspiration from things that happen or from things I see or from things I feel. You gotta feel it, you gotta know it, and you've gotta be in it. You've gotta be present inside of it, or else it'll never be, it'll never be worth, it's never worth singing if you're not invested in some way.
That's definitely right. I think the guys listening are definitely going to really take a lot from that. So thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm not really good with advice, so to be asked for it is a pretty honorable thing. So
well, you did a good job.
Thank you.
So I don't know if you guys knew this or not that are listening right now. Hunter co-wrote, produced, and played every instrument on his debut album. That is amazing.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. It's again, it's just kind of it's a process that was born out of being a total music geek, and it's just something. I don't know. It's honestly it's the only way I know how to work. To write the song again, like I said, to sort of be invested in it, to get to sort of co-produce it and to do everything like that. That's really just the only. It's just because that's kind of how I'm comfortable. I'm a naturally shy guy. Even though I'm long-winded, and you wouldn't believe it, I'm a naturally shy guy. So getting to play getting to play all the instruments on the record, it's strictly because I had to. It's one of those things that was like, that's the only way I was comfortable with working on my debut record was just not having anybody else in the room, or else, I feel like if I'd have been across the glass from, the legendary musicians of Nashville, I'd have just been so nervous, I never would have said a word, and the record would have, been made basically without my presence and my involvement, which would have been really dishonest. I don't know. It's all just to say that that's how I love to work. That's how I'm really passionate about working,
And it has to mean a lot to you too. Looking back now, you have your debut album out, and to know that you had a hand in everything, that has to mean a lot.
It does. It definitely does. It strikes a lot of chords with me. Obviously, a lot of these songs mean something to me. They had to in order to write them. And yeah, it's all about that thing where it's like when I listen back, there's this feeling of ownership. There's this feeling, not necessarily because it sounds good, but because I got to be a part of it, and I was allowed to. I had a record label that said, yeah, sure, you can try it. Let's see how this goes, and enough people who believed in me to say, yeah, you know what, I think you should try it. I think you should do it. And we did it, and we pulled it off. I don't know how, but we did.
You
and
definitely
hopefully we
did.
can do it again.
I think so.
Hopefully we can do it again.
So Storm Warning came out in May of last year as your debut single. What were you feeling when it first came out?
Oh, nerves out there. I mean, just unbelievably like strong. High pressure. On myself. It was nuts. It was nuts because there's no preparation. And I'm a big fan of being prepared. I spent an hour in the back lounge of the bus warming up for a 30-minute show. It doesn't matter how long the show is, how many people. It's like I'm very passionate about preparing for things, preparing for the record, preparing for writing sessions. And there's nothing that can prepare you for putting out your first song on country radio or going out on your first tour, around the United States, or putting your first song, in front of people for the first time. It's like, I've done it on a small scale, but to be on this scale, to be on this level, to get to play in these big arenas and to get to be on, national radio stations like, such as yourselves. It's like, it was, there's nobody can tell you how it's supposed to go. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And I think that was the most nerve-wracking part. It's like, what do I compare it to? How do I know if people actually like what I'm doing? I just hope to have it, people like this record, and I just totally just relieved a lot of stress when I got to play one of my first shows, and Storm Warning had just come out, and people were already singing along, and it was a very validating moment for me, and it was just and it was very much so like, it was such a rush. I had to sit back, and when I did, I realized that all my dreams, everything that I've ever wanted, was coming true, and this was all really happening, And it's just ever since then it's been a whirlwind, but I love it. I wouldn't change a thing about it.
And watching
except
some of
maybe,
go ahead.
Except maybe bigger rooms and more buses and things like that. But that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Now, watching some of your YouTube videos, everywhere you go, the crowd knows every word to your songs. That has to be just an outstandingly amazing feeling.
Oh, it's the best feeling in the world. That is arguably, I could probably find a couple other things that sort of measure up, but that's probably the best feeling. That's the best validation I can have as an artist that I'm doing something right. When that happens, I can sit back on the bus and say, yeah, I feel good about today. I feel good about what I've done. I feel good about my contribution. It's like, I feel like I did something right. Yeah, it's the best feeling in the world to hear somebody else singing along with you and singing your lyrics back to you. There's nothing like it.
I can't imagine what that would feel like. And do you mind if I ask you a song, my favorite song that you do? Of course, I love Wanted and Storm Warning and Somebody's Heartbreak. I like all your songs. But the song I really like is Where We Left Off of the Act of Valor soundtrack.
Wow,
I listen to that song over and over again, and I just love it. Can you tell me about writing that song?
Well, that was a tricky one. I've always, as I've told you, I've always written out of passion. I've always written out of, feelings. I don't write for purposes. I just write. So what ended up happening was they called me and they were like, hey, are you interested in writing a song for a movie? And I was like, yeah, depends. What's our subject matter? What are we talking about here? And they were like, well, it's a movie called, and they started telling me about it. It's a movie called Act of Valor. It's about a group of Navy SEALs. It's actually played by active Navy SEAls, and it's all real missions that have happened that they reenacted for the movie. And I was so moved by that. And I was, to be honest, I was really worried. I was like, okay, how am I going to write a song that's worthy of this movie, for one? Because here's a subject matter that's this is a very important subject matter, you know what I mean?
It is.
And how am I going to do it justice? But what I found was the more I learned, the more I watched, the more I heard about this and everything involved with it. I connected with this one line that this man said, we go off, we serve our country, and we come back and we pick up right where we left off. It was sort of like his love, his passion was just so much like, no big deal. And this is how I operate, and this is how I run it. And I wanted to come at it from a relationship standpoint almost, and show that it's not just bravery, it's a sacrifice on the heart and on the soul and on a person. And so where we left off was very much a journey to sort of try to tell the story, to try to connect with that story of a soldier going away and saying to his loved one, you know what, I'll be back. Don't worry about it. it'll be a flash in the pan once we're done with this, and I'll be right back, and we will pick up right where we left off like nothing ever happened. And I just thought that showed so much guts and so much heart and soul that I don't know, it moved me, and I ended up writing the song. It's called Where We Left Off, and it's all about that.
Yeah, and I have a lot of friends that husbands and boyfriends are in the military, and they just love the song. They connect to it. So I want to thank you for them, that you have given them something that they can go to when they are in, the deep, when they're down and worried, that they look to your song. So that's awesome.
That is a deep honor. Thank you, and I tell them thank you as well, and tell their spouses and friends thank you for what they do, and everyone who's listening. Same to you guys. It's a huge sacrifice, and I don't feel like what I do, songs can really do it justice. But I thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. Now, do you mind if I ask you some fun questions now?
Let's do it. Let's have some fun with this.
Okay. All right. Now this is probably an easy one. You probably get asked all the time. What is your favorite song of all time?
Oh gosh, that changes every day. I'm going to pick one like right now. Okay. What am I listening to right now? What am I really into? You know what? Stevie Wonder has this song called Sir Duke, and it's all about like the love of music. It's like you can feel it all over. Oh my gosh.
I love that song.
It's not what I typically listen to. Obviously, it's Stevie Wonder, and I'm a huge Stevie Wonder fan, but it's very far departure from a lot of the stuff I listen to country music wise. But his music moves me in such a way. It's like it sort of transcends the genre topic or whatever. It's just his music is just good music, great lyrics, great music. It's just moving, and I love Sir Duke for that reason. Yes. Sir Duke's all about the music, and I love that. Yeah. I'm really into it. That's kind of my theme song.
It's got the good big band sound to it. I love that song too. Very cool.
Yeah, it's so fun. So fun. You can't listen to it and not move a little bit.
That's right.
What I mean?
Even tap your foot a little bit.
Totally.
Do you have any hidden talents, Hunter?
Let me think. I can cook, sort of.
Really? That's cool.
I don't know if I want to admit to that, though. Let me move on to something else. I don't know if this is a talent necessarily, as much as it is just kind of a hobby. I love kind of messing around with like video editing, which is why, I end up having to do my own videos for the weekly webisodes and our For the Love of Music Mondays.
I love those, by the way.
Thank you. I end up doing those by myself. And that's why they're very inconsistent.
They're good, though.
But I love it. I love making independent movies and doing stuff like that. So I don't know if that counts. We'll go with that.
That's cool. And you just mentioned you like to cook, bringing that back up again. But what is probably your favorite food? You can tell us.
I love Italian. In fact, I'm in New York right now. I'm passing my favorite Italian restaurant. I go there every time I'm here. It's so funny you asked at this moment. Perfect timing. But yeah, no, I love Italian food and I love cooking Italian food. I'm not good at it by any means, but I love Italian food.
And when you're not on tour, what do you like to do for fun?
Honestly, go to the studio. I know that sounds really stupid and that sounds really canned and like predictable, but I promise it's not. Like that's just, I love going. I got a little place. I call it the Bee Cave. It's in a basement, in an undisclosed area in Nashville, and it's just where me and a lot of the time my band comes and hangs out, and that's where I write. That's where I make all my demos. That's where honestly I just go to get away. I just grab an acoustic guitar and I start jamming, and it's just like that's my freedom. That's my favorite place that's my favorite thing to do is to go to the Bee Cave. That's where you'll find me anytime.
And you see what good comes out of it. It's not stupid. Because you make awesome music.
Apparently, it's really useful. It's become a very productive place for me. So, what a great thing to have your hobby as something productive. I looked into that one big time.
Definitely. Now, you probably don't even know what you would have done because you've been making music since you were so small. But what do you think you would be doing if you weren't a singer and an entertainer?
Oh, I was driving a race car. No big deal.
Really?
Probably like an IndyCar driver. Oh my gosh, yeah, love that stuff. Love it. I got to drive an IndyCar a couple of months ago. We shot a TV show for GAC called Day Jobs, in which they actually did the same thing. They were like, okay, so what were you doing before it was music? And I was like, no, you don't understand. There was nothing but music. So my story is really boring. And they were like, okay, well, what would you be doing instead of music? And I was like, I'm driving a car. They're like, oh, cool. And I just immediately, I was just like, IndyCar. Let's go with that. And so we hooked it up. I got to meet an IndyCar driver around my age. He's been same sort of story. Like, you know, I've been making music for a long time, and he's been driving cars for a long time since he was a kid, and so we kind of connected, you know, on that level. We both love what we do, and so he took me around the track, showed me around a little bit, and you know, I got to drive an Indy car. It was really, really cool, you know.
That sounds cool.
And you know, that's what I would do if I could, if I wasn't doing music.
Now, what is your favorite place, if you can pick one, that you've ever played at?
Oh gosh, that's so difficult. That's rough. You know what? I got to do CMA Fest this year. I got to play LP Field.
Yes.
And there was something magical about that. You know, a lot of people come to town, like hundreds of thousands of people come to town for this festival. It's all about music. It's all about country music in particular. And I got to be a part of it. I got to play the big stage, you know, the big boy stage, and that was like, it was so nerve-wracking, but it was so cool. And I think I remember that night after it was all said and done, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, I saw a picture my buddy posted on Facebook, and I immediately copied it, saved it to my phone, emailed my manager, and I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to play in front of stadiums, and this is what I want. And so I have to say that was probably my favorite experience ever.
Yeah, I've been to CMA Fest, and it is so cool. I've been twice, and I'm ready to go back again. I love it.
Oh, my gosh. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It is. Now, this may be another hard one. Since you're a songwriter, I wanted to ask you, is there a song that you wish you would have written that somebody else has written?
Oh, so many.
Yeah.
So many.
I figured that.
The list is so long, honestly. There's, I don't even know where to start, to be honest.
Sorry, Hunter.
I'll put it this way, yes. Yes, there are so many songs. I think that's what inspires me to write new songs, is when I hear something that I wish I would have written, I'm like, you know what? That you know, I'm like, I kind of tell myself, you know what? That should be a message to yourself. Go write something, you know? And I go and I just write.
Very cool. Now, the Carrie Underwood tour is coming up for you, and what is next for Hunter Hayes? Tell us.
The Carrie Underwood tour, I'm really stoked about it. It's been something that we've been kind of talking about, and obviously we announced it a while back, and we've been kind of planning on it. You know, what's cool about it is I get to be a part of an entire tour. It's 55 dates. We go all over the country. We go to Canada. So I get to do a little bit more production-wise. I get to have a little bit more fun with it. And you know, it's a huge tour. Her fans are awesome, and the opportunity to play in front of them and to be a part of her tour, and you know, to get the endorsement, if you will, from Carrie Underwood to say, yeah, you're cool. You can come on my tour. You know, that's huge. That's huge for me. It's a huge milestone. It's something I've been looking forward to for a long time, to be a part of a tour like this, and I feel very accomplished, and I'm honored to be a part of it. I'm stoked. I can't wait to get on the road and actually put on the show.
Is the Wanted piano going to be with you on the tour?
The whole set, all the gear. You know, I'm sure you've seen the video. It's, you know, the whole set has lyrics everywhere on it. We're actually expanding upon that. We're going to add some lights and some things like that, but it's going to be even more lyrics, even more of a mess. So, which is really cool. I've been looking forward to putting together a production like this for a while, and to finally have the freedom to do that is huge.
And I wanted to let our listeners know, you and Carrie are going to be in Duluth, Georgia, at the arena at Gwinnett Center on December 19th. So I'm definitely going to try to get tickets for that one, and everybody needs to know so they can go ahead and prepare for that.
Absolutely. Y'all come. If you haven't bought tickets already, obviously, no need to sell it. It's like, it's Carrie Underwood, you know? It's like, I'm thrilled just to be a part of it. But no, it's going to be fun. I've only heard what she's got planned, and of course, you know, we're planning a lot. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. You guys are, our goal is for you to have a very memorable night, as always.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, too, of course, I'm not Carrie Underwood, but my middle name is Carrie, and I am Kirsten Carrie Underwood. Little cool fact there.
Well, so I was going to ask you if you're related, because I saw that you shared the same last name, and I'm interested to see if you have any relation.
I don't know. We might. See, my dad, his name is Carrie Underwood. He's the original, he likes to say. It's spelled different, wow. but yeah. But I don't know. We might be related. Pretty cool.
Oh, wow. Nice. Well, there you go. Piece of cake.
Yeah. So tell us, you have HunterHayes.com. You have all kind of contests, videos, and, of course, the tour dates.
Absolutely, yeah. We got everything on the website. We've got our weekly webisodes, which is, you know, I call it For the Love of Music, and it's just kind of all the geeky, goofy stuff that goes on the road that I really at first I don't want anybody to see it. I'm just like, okay, whatever, let's have some fun with this, And then we've got all the tour dates. We've got all the we've got a bunch of pictures from the live shows. You can actually get kind of a glimpse of what live shows are like, and all that good stuff. We've got a community. We've got on there. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube now. We're actually putting a lot of stuff on the channel. Our YouTube channel is turning into a really cool thing too. So you might want to check that out when you get a chance. We're everywhere we can be.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It has been, I couldn't even tell you, a complete honor to have you on the show, and I know my listeners are going to be so excited too, so thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you guys for listening in. Thank you for all the support. I'm honored to do what I am because I know you guys are just, you guys have been so great to me, and I thank you so much. Thank you.
Right. Well, we look forward to seeing you in Duluth, and thank you, Hunter.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We'll see you there.
All righty. Bye.